Hello, I'm Scott Soshnick.
And I'm Eben Williams, and this is the Basketball's Back sports business podcast, the Sporticast.
Oh, God. Novi Williams. Do we need this on a Monday? The good news, we have a new space here in the building for podcast studio, video studio, everything we're ramping up on. The bad news is the Wi-Fi in that particular part of the building, as we just learned, no bueno.
It's the little things, Scott.
Yeah,
like who? Good except the Wi-Fi doesn't work.
Yeah, who would I got all situated. I was excited the first day in the new room, even though the backgrounds would have been terrible. We still have to put it together. But I have one little bar on the Wi-Fi. I'm like, oh no, and it's not hardwired, so we couldn't even do that yet. So now I'm in. If anybody's watching the video, I'm like, why am I off to the left? I'm in one of those little soundproof booths. So there's no room in here, but I have 3+ bars. So. Which you tell me.
The things we do for the Sporticast.
The things we do for the Sporticast. Yes. But, yes, I am excited for the start of a new NBA season. And I love the fact that Jacob Feldman's headline today said, here's how to watch the NBA. And then in parentheses, it's complicated. Because everything is getting, anything and everything about being a sports fan is getting more complicated these days. So you tell me, you're a streaming service dude. What do you got? Do you have all the platforms for the NBA, or where are you going to watch?
Yeah, it's funny. So I obviously saw the headline as well. It's complicated. I would say that the NBA remains one of the least complicated.
Oh, you think it's simple? Yeah.
I'm not saying simple, but yeah, this is surprising to me. I hadn't thought about this until I read it in Jacob's story. The NBA is the last major U.S. league to put exclusive
streaming
games behind in streaming content. That's shocking to me. And obviously part of that, I think, is just the nature of the calendar and when the most recent rights deals were up for leagues like the NFL and NHL.
Yeah, they would have gotten
MLB,
there sooner.
But yeah, there's not many things, particularly in the kind of tech new age digital media world, where the NBA is the last mover in. But here we are. The NBA is the last major league to put live games behind streaming services. This year, there's 2 of them. There's Peacock as part of the NBC deal, and then there's Amazon Prime Video. From a national standpoint, Scott, the NBA, there's 3 partners, right? There's ABC, ESPN, there's NBC Peacock, and then there's Amazon Prime Video, which is taking the Thursday nights beginning in the middle of the season. So kind of what they've done with the NFL, similar little model there. Everything's getting harder to watch for basically all leagues and not MLS, which has its own issues. But in the grand scheme of things, I think basketball, if you're a national basketball watcher, still relatively simple at this point.
Well, it's not as simple now as sort of F1 and MLS. I know it's Apple. It's all in the universe.
Yeah.
If you're not into streaming, and this is the thing I say, and I told you kind of a fun sport is when we're on a hockey trip and it's a Sunday afternoon and we're in, some rundown motel somewhere in, Michigan. And everyone's like, oh, I want to see the football game. And they're going back and forth. They're telling bartender, can you try channel 2, try CBS, ABC. And I'm just sitting there chuckling going, guys, today's the exclusive Prime game. But I don't say it. I actually watch it all unfold. And then I watch all the people kind of scramble for who has an account. One had to message like the Sun, what's your login? Because we're trying to watch it. And then they got it on a computer. I always took some entertainment as part of that. But yeah, this is when you have 82 games, it's like to put some back, but you get your big nationals on Disney and you're still on NBC. I mean, there's plenty of games that people can see even without having to go the exclusive streaming route if you don't want to.
And all these leagues outside the NBA have already gotten, I think, a majority of American sports fans used to the idea that, some of these games are going to be exclusive on platforms that are in a separate place than where I get most of my other games. As you know, with MLS, when they did their Apple deal, one of the things that executives at the soccer league were pushing was the idea that they have among the youngest fan bases in the US, and younger people seem more able to, less confused by bouncing around between an Amazon Prime Thursday night game and, this one's on Peacock exclusive, or this one's on ABC broadcast. And if I think about the NBA, I would also imagine
Younger
they have
tech savvy demo. Yeah.
younger tech savvy demo definitely skews more for the NBA. So to the extent that this is happening across every league, yeah, there might be some growing pains for Thursday night basketball on Amazon Prime in the middle of the year this year. But I am not expecting this to be as jarring a transition as some of the NFL ones were over the past 4 or 5 years, as people had to get used to, oh, this game, oh, this is a holiday game, it's only on Netflix. Oh, this is a Thursday night game now. The only place I can watch that now is Amazon. I think the learning curve is going to be much less steep for NBA fans this year.
I'd like, though, the motivations, and this is where the interest in sports business comes. The motivations are the same, however, the path is different. Motivation, if I'm looking at MLS, I own an MLS team. If I was in on the league at the start and I paid $1 million, I have the luxury of saying, let's take more time. Let's have our, like what the NFL would say, we want the biggest reach. We want the widest distribution so that we can grow the audience for our league. Now, if I bought the team somewhat in the recent times and I paid 500, 700, whatever $1 million for this franchise, those owners are saying, no. I need the revenue now.
Yeah.
I understand that Apple was willing to pay more than an over the air. I got it, but I'm willing to sacrifice the reach for the revenue because I paid. So that's an owner to owner issue, much like baseball is going to have when it comes to revenue sharing and salary cap. Those are owner issues. If I look at the NBA, I think this is I think everybody knows you're looking forward to. This is sort of next gen. This is hitting the younger audience on the platforms where they are. This is about getting a foothold in the future and not so much worrying about you're going to bastardize the large audience, the global audience. You have same exact play as the NFL. The NFL has the luxury, because of its scale, to take things slowly and experiment. No NFL owner is saying, I must go to the highest bidder. But 10, 15, 20 years down the road, when these companies are the platforms where everybody is watching, you want to get them in early. So it's just same place, just different route to get there.
And we had a good conversation last week. The Thursday show last week was you, me, and Kurt Bodenhausen talking about his NBA valuations. He started that conversation off by talking about the NBA shifting more towards an NFL style model, right? Mm-hmm. And part of that is the increasing hard cap of the second apron. Part of that is increasing large distributions going out annually to every team as part of the NBA's national revenue. One thing we didn't talk about, which you and I are talking about here, there's going to be Thursday night basketball, NBA. There's going to be Sunday night basketball on Peacock, much like there's Thursday night football and Sunday night football. It even seems like in some ways the NBA's new media deals are going to kind of mimic and mirror some of the kind of standing appointment viewing that the NFL has tried to create over the last 2 decades. One thing we haven't said, Scott, we haven't said TNT. Obviously, TNT is out as an NBA broadcaster.
They're out, but inside the NBA will be on the Disney platform.
I was going to ask you. I think a lot of people, when they think about TNT's basketball coverage, they immediately go to inside the NBA, the tremendously popular pregame, postgame, halftime show that Chuck and Charles and Ernie,
culture of the game, zeitgeist. Yeah.
Do you you're more of a basketball fan than I am, but do you think there's fans that inside the NBA is moving around, but TNT is not? Do you think there's any love lost there? Are people going to miss TNT's coverage, or do you think moving these guys over and doing something similar there is going to be enough?
Well, I don't think similar is the right word. I don't see that show changing at all. Like you don't, you don't. Yeah. So then it comes down to like whatever production, right, tricks might be employed over at Disney. No, as long as I get Shaq being Shaq, Ernie being just sort of the master maestro, and Chuck and Kenny Smith, as long as I get their interactions, their views on the world of the NBA and basketball, fans will find them. The loyalty is to the personalities, obviously not TNT. Nobody really cares at this point that it's moving. The question is, and I believe Chuck brought this up, will ESPN rush to get them off the air post-game because they have to get to a sports center or something like that? There's another game scheduled. So will they be compressed to 20 minutes instead of having full time? That is a question I cannot answer now. That is a question for the bosses at ESPN. But something tells me it's a great post-game program in terms of eyeballs and advertisers. I would not rush them off the air if I were not contractually committed to doing so.
And then one other big media change this year, obviously, as we said, NBC and Peacock is in, taking the place of Turner. NBC is going to have Michael Jordan joining throughout the year a season-long series called Insights to Excellence. And we're recording this on Monday, but Tuesday night, opening night, Michael Jordan will be in studio with Mike Tirico during a halftime show to be discussing things going on in basketball. I can't think of kind of a bigger intrigue or question mark on the sports media broadcasting side. Maybe Tom Brady before he called games for Fox.
Well, you have Brady, yes. You have Gretzky doing, the Turner hockey. You got like kind of the greatest of all times. So it's really, I would call it access to brain. It's just, how do they process? What is he thinking when he sees what's happening? I through the filter of the greatest to ever do it. And that I don't need a debate of whether it's LeBron or this. I'm just, enough. I'm not saying, I'm not making a definitive statement there. I'm just sort of saying, when you have some of the all-time greats giving you their take, I always loved watching Tony Gwynn do The Art of Hitting, right? It's through his eyes. So is that enough to captivate viewers? Just because it's Michael?
That was going to be my question.
Yeah,
is the fact that it's Michael Jordan enough, or does this need to be hyper compelling?
I don't want to put it to you this way. I don't think Gretzky's hyper compelling, right? People like Bissonnette. Like, there's the personality there that you tune into the show. Do I absolutely tune in to hear what Wayne has to say? No. Am I absolutely tuning in to hear what Tom Brady says about? No. I have to see what Michael Jordan gives us. If it's something unique because he's Michael Jordan, then yes. And you could argue that any observation he gives is unique because it's through his eyes. But does he pick up on something? There was always a thing with Kobe Bryant. Like, he could never figure it out. And you can Google this. I thought it was wonderful, where he said, I can never figure out why people fall for the pump fake, right? Go Google this when we're done, Eben. Let me know if you think it's on point. Yeah. He's like, this is what I looked for when if they brought that right foot back because they were in pump fake, I know they're not going anywhere, because this is how I know you've trained your body. You have to have your left foot back. And then, so to see those little things, is that a little something that helped Kobe separate and be Kobe that other players don't do? That was valuable to me. If Michael gives me a steady diet of that, like, hey, look at the positioning of his shoulder, I would have dipped here because that gave me then I want to see it again and again and again, because it's something I can't get anywhere else.
I have this theory that former players that are doing analysis or calling games, that there's a kind of rule of diminishing returns given how long it's been since they played. That you have someone like Tony Romo, who comes in the year after he was playing NFL football, and he basically knows everything that's going to happen before he's being a quarterback out there.
But it was fantastic.
Over time,
right?
He's 4 years removed, he's 5 years removed, he's 6 years removed from the game, and the game changes a little bit, and then suddenly there's fewer people that he's calling games against that he played against, and the game has changed, and so is the preparation and the play calling and things like that, and things change. I think we kind of see that already in the life cycle with a few people. Michael's obviously been out of the game for 20 plus years as a player. He's been around it as an owner and a lot of other things. So I'm not insinuating that Michael doesn't know basketball by any means.
No, of course not.
But I am definitely curious to see what someone who has not played in the NBA in 20 years, how he is approaching things. And one other thing I'll say, and I think people expected this of Tom Brady, and I'm not sure it's fully happened that way, but very few people who sit in these chairs have the credibility and the willingness to be hypercritical of what they're watching. And Charles Barkley does this to a degree. So does Shaq. Sometimes they get pushback for it. But Michael Jordan, someone who notoriously hard on his teammates, brutally honest as a competitor. I'm really curious to see if he is willing to be that person when the NBC camera is on, because I think that's really interesting. My gut tells me we're not going to get that side of Michael, but if we do, if he's willing to go to places that most people who are not Michael Jordan, most people who are on camera are maybe not willing to go, I could see that being really compelling as well.
I'm with you, but I go the other way. I think it's imperative, and I think it's been communicated to him that we have to have that Michael Jordan.
Great. Yeah,
I
that's
need
true,
that.
Then
I want him to
watch.
say, it is obvious to me. Do you watch him trailing the guy trying to get around the screen? He's not working hard. That would not be a teammate of mine. And this is how I know he's not working hard. Look in the huddle. Look at him looking into the crowd. That would not fly with a teammate of Michael Jordan. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. I mean, I get it. If you're a network, if Michael says yes, I'll broadcast. You just say yes to have him. But like you said, I think that curve of diminishing returns will almost be sort of a straight line down if I don't get that stuff. Otherwise, it's just not all that compelling. I don't need somebody else telling me what I already see. I need to see it through your eyes. Tell me this guy's dogging it. Tell me it wouldn't work. Tell me this coach blew it and why. Absolutely. So I'm with you, but I think it hopefully has been communicated to him that this is the expectation of what we're going to get from Michael Jordan. I want that world-class player brain every time he speaks.
If that's true, I am in. Michael Jordan, for folks who are curious, made about $94 million on court in his superlative NBA career. Kevin Durant just recently signed a 2-year extension with the Rockets for $90 million. He has just passed LeBron James, Scott. I'm sure you saw this, as the highest career on court earner in NBA history. Durant with this deal now at almost $600 million. Again, Michael was at $90 million. Durant $600 million in current and future salaries. LeBron James was at $584.
That's why we're going to see a whole lot more players turn owners, because they're catching billions. Many billionaires minted just in salary alone coming up.
I was going to say, I think this is a record that Kevin Durant will not hold for a particularly long amount of time. I think there's some people coming up that are going to blow past it fairly quickly. We'll see what LeBron does, if there's more in his earnings in the future as he thinks about the tail end of his career. But always interesting to kind of put in perspective just how much sports salaries in general have changed, but the NBA especially. Michael Jordan at $90 million, and then to have Kevin Durant 20 years later surpassing $600 million.
As you know, I spent years at the summer meetings of the various sports unions, and always the players who came before would attend, and they were hyper cognizant that, well, I helped build the league. Look at what the players are being paid today. No, you didn't share in a time when broadcast revenue went crazy. It's just the way it is, as this matures, as each business matures, and as it goes, and as new revenue streams are created, the revenue, it goes up. So therefore, it's a direct relationship. The salaries of the players will go up. You and I said, like, years ago, where we were noticing 12 men on the bench just to get to minimum salary levels were cashing incredible contracts, far greater than some of the superstars of a decade prior, and you didn't even know who they were. That's just a byproduct of the system. It's, what is it? Don't hate the player, hate the game, right? So that's what it is. Sorry, you played it at a different time, but yeah, the superstar of 10 years from now, the 10-year-old right now, who is going to be the best NBA player in the next decade plus, will make far more than Kevin Durant did. That's just the way it's going.
Yeah. And there's an interesting wrinkle here for some leagues when they go to a hard cap, how that potentially changes, right? For a while in the NHL, the most lucrative contracts ever were the ones signed in the late 90s before the cap came in, right? And then the cap came and it came down, and now we're finally getting up. Sergei Fedorov made $14.5 million.
Look at you with a Sergei Fedorov reference.
Joe
Nice.
Sakic, I'm looking at this. Joe Sakic made $16.4 million in 1997. Right? Those are numbers that we're basically not seeing hit until basically now among the best players in hockey. Baseball is an interesting one too, Scott. If the owners get their way, and in a couple of years we have a hard cap in baseball, do we end up with your Juan Soto types as for a while being the highest grossing or the biggest contracts in baseball history, until in maybe 10 years baseball catches up and everything passes it? But there's some interesting dynamics there. Basketball continue to grow. I think we basically have a fixed cap already. Football, we'll see it continue to grow as well. But for these sports that go from basically free economy to suddenly hard capped, you may see some reversion in the highest and biggest contracts.
Speaking of highest and biggest contracts, I mean, did you watch the Shohei Ohtani pitch hit game the other night?
I didn't watch it, but I saw that basically everybody was talking about it.
I actually tuned in when he hit one out of the stadium up through the pavilion. Yeah. Oh, my
Was that
Lord.
Number 2 or number 3?
I think that was number 2. Oh, okay. My Lord. But I think we should do it, and I sent it to the editors at the time. I think people know, but I'm sure we can get some things that people haven't been told. An examination of the economy around Shohei Ohtani and why he's paid what he's paid, and how the Dodgers extract ROI on so many levels. When they had, I think it was Sasaki came in, he had asked Stan Kasten about whether or not there were Japanese toilets in the clubhouse because they were so much better and more comfortable. And to hear Stan tell it was great. I would give credit to the outlet that interviewed Stan. I don't remember where I read this or heard it, whatever it was, but Stan said, "Is that important to you?" And he was like, "Well, yes." He said, "Well, absolutely, that's part of the plan." Of course, then he had to call the architect. Exactly. We got to change the plan. We need Japanese toilets, whatever it takes. But if you think that Shohei Ohtani is making a lot of money, just go check out how the Dodgers are taking advantage of having him on their team. And that is what I will say. I also want a story on, hey, remember the parking lots around Dodger Stadium? They're really undeveloped. And remember Frank McCourt? Remember the old team, the old owner of the team? Well, he retained a 50% ownership stake in those lots. Can't wait to see what happens to the revenue of the Dodgers when that happens. Hey, remember all this dying RSN talk we have all the time? Well, maybe you ought to go take a look again at the Dodgers TV, the local TV, and see why the Dodgers are able to spend all the money they're able to spend. It's because of that TV deal. So, which came out of bankruptcy, by the way. Like, they had that negotiated and they knew the number when they made a bid for the franchise. So the economics around Dodgers TV, Shohei, really, really interesting stuff.
We've talked about this with Kurt before for baseball valuations, but the Dodgers are creeping up to the Yankees, and I don't think there's too many people at this point that wouldn't say that they expect in the next few years that the Dodgers are going to be the most valuable team in baseball. And certainly if things continue on this trajectory for Shohei and the team, it could happen sooner than even we expected it to happen. But yes, between the performances on the field to having Shohei and some of his other Japanese teammates and the opportunity to grow this business outside of the United States, particularly in Asia, and having the largest stadium or second largest stadium in baseball, which let them set the attendance record that we talked about earlier this year, the media deals you're discussing. There's a whole lot of reasons why things look pretty good right now for the business of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And that's before we see what happens in this year's World Series.
All right, now tell me, with the World Series, especially with LA and the demographics, wouldn't it be fun if we could get a Bad Bunny national anthem in Spanish just to see heads explode all over the world? And,
I would call that fun, Scott. I think there's a subset of people that would not call that fun.
I would just see the reaction. I think it would be, yes, fun and whatever it may be, but I cannot believe we have the top officials in the country and nothing but talk shows filled with whether or not Bad Bunny should be the halftime entertainment at the Super Bowl. The guy has 49 point something actually million followers on Instagram. That's why he's the halftime act of the Super Bowl. The word saturation should come to mind when you're talking about the U.S. audience and the NFL. There's a reason why Roger Goodell is jumping aboard all these flights for Europe, for South America, to watch two teams play in other markets. You have to expand the boundaries. This is what that is about. I do not understand the criticism of Bad Bunny as the halftime act. It has been, he's a citizen. There have been plenty non-U.S. citizens who have performed the halftime show. There wasn't a problem then. Is it the Spanish? I don't know. This is nothing but a business decision. This is not anything that has to do with a societal didactic take on anything. It is a business decision to broaden the audience, much like Taylor Swift somehow has done for the younger female demographic. If you get Swifties in and now you add people around the world from other markets, that is true global domination, which, by the way, has been the ultimate goal of the National Football League.
He's the second largest pop star in the world. And in many places around the world, he's the largest pop star in the world. As of Thursday, his songs on Spotify had been streamed 108 billion times. Taylor Swift is only one higher than him, 112 billion.
Do you have the Lee Greenwood numbers? Do you have my Lee Greenwood numbers?
I do have Lee Greenwood
And by the
numbers.
way, I enjoy Proud to Be an American.
96 million.
There we go.
If we're doing
the greater than less than, this is probably, nobody's benefited more probably than Lee Greenwood downloads in the last, whatever controversy this is. But once again, I actually like that song and have for a very long time. I just don't think he should be the performer at the halftime of the Super Bowl. That's all. Audience ain't big enough, my friend.
So Anthony Krupe wrote a great story for us this week about this topic. And I'm shocked you haven't brought this up, Scott, because it is...
because it was my idea?
No, this specific thing, the old time television aspect of it. Only once in the history of the NFL, of the history of the Super Bowl, has a rival broadcast actually successfully moved a significant amount of people away, counter programming during the halftime show. It was in 1992 when Fox lured 20 million people away from CBS's coverage of the Super Bowl for a live installment of the sketch comedy series In Living Color.
Yes.
And that's fascinating to me just as a piece of trivia. The halftime show that year, here's probably why. The halftime show that year was a decidedly goofy Olympic-themed set featuring the Pride of Minnesota Marching Band, Brian Boitano, Dorothy Hamill, and then Gloria Estefan. Not hard.
And who doesn't like a little Miami Sound Machine? Let me just get that on the record.
There you go. So yes, there have been people that have tried. I'll be honest. I've switched over to some Puppy Bowl action.
I was going to say the Puppy Bowl. Yeah.
But that's not moving the needle at all. I cannot imagine that Bad Bunny, despite the rhetoric that you see around the country, is going to produce another version of this where
I could move the needle. You ready for this? I could even move the needle on Bad Bunny.
Oh boy.
No, I'm dead serious. If you wanted a counter program, I wouldn't do a concert. No, why? You seem as if you're you seem as if you're reticent to hear what I'm about to say. No. I would take a few of the participants of the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
Oh boy.
I would take some others who maybe didn't participate there, but I haven't seen in a while. And I would have almost like in Living Color, give me a 10, 15-minute sketch with that group giving me whatever they want. I would, Eben, I am switching over. And what could Dave Chappelle, Bill Burr give me, and some others, by the way, what would that 15-minute sketch look like besides utter genius? I would watch it.
If any investors out there want to take Scott up on his idea,
what would you do? Would you stay for Bad Bunny, or would you flip over to see that like 15 minutes of a comedy sketch from that group?
I mean, I would probably switch over.
Yes.
I'm not the target demo here. I watch all my sports on mute. I'm probably not going to watch the Bad Bunny halftime show.
Well, I'm in a room and I'm always like, all right, there are people in the family and around. We get in a little group there if we don't go to the game. Like, I haven't stayed for the game in a while. We go for the week before, but it's been we've handed the duties of covering the game over to others. Yep. So yeah, but I would absolutely switch over to see what that comedy sketch looked like. Oh my God, that could be great. That could be so good.
We've got a little bit of time left. I did want to switch gears real quick to talk about college soccer, which is maybe not the
we haven't done that in a long time
on people's minds right now, but a really interesting story that our colleague Luke did last week about a really interesting concept coming out of U.S. soccer. As so many of the Olympic sports or the non-revenue college sports, so the sports that are not basketball or football, start to worry about what happens on their campuses amid all these business changes in college sports. There's been a whole talk about this huge development pipeline we have for talent in all these other sports. You see it at the Olympics every 4 years or every 2 years. You see it at the World Cups and things like that. And U.S. soccer has come together, put together a white paper led by a group of really talented people at various parts of the soccer ecosystem to really tackle this question about if U.S. soccer were to get involved in college soccer, how could they do it? What would it look like? And I encourage people to read it, but it's essentially a regional conference realignment that has promotion and relegation. It gets to a full school year competition calendar. There's professional player eligibility. There's more commercial opportunities. That last part is maybe the least defined part of the thing and maybe the most important part of the plan. So we're not fully there yet. But I think a lot of sports have talked about in kind of ephemeral ways, what does a post-NCAA world look like for us? Or with the NCAA, how do we adapt what we're doing to fit this new model? And I think what U.S. Soccer put together here is the right way of thinking, which is essentially let's keep some things the same. Let's blow up other things. Let's make regional. Let's eliminate the travel. We'll rethink the conferences. We'll create stakes for promotion and relegation. Keep the national championship, all that stuff. So I encourage people to read it. And I think folks in basically every other sport, it doesn't have to be U.S. soccer. It doesn't have to be college soccer, but other sports need to start thinking outside the box like this because the college model is changing. There's more financial pressure on schools increasingly, and we're seeing more and more of those resources shifting towards men's basketball, women's basketball, and football.
Okay, I just had people out the door here giving me, I'm doing a meeting, or I forgot it's 1:00 already. It's like, oh, okay. You got to do this now. now, but I will. My head where you were going.
That's the send-off music right there from Scott.
Yeah, I don't have any music, but one I'll play you off as you're accepting your Academy Award. But I totally love the fact that they get together and go. I mean, who watches college soccer? It's not exactly. It's a big. What are we doing?
No.
Let's think about is there a better path forward? Let's make some recommendations. I love you going for the SAT word of ephemeral. For those who,
Thank you.
the less than erudite class who listen to our show, which is probably a pretty good portion, that means short-lived. And while you're mentioning Luke and should read, not only that story, but Luke's collab with Rolling Stone, a lot of words. That's one of those, we don't put on the top of our stories how long it would take, like the New York Times. It's a while, but it's worthwhile. Fantastic reporting by Luke Cyphers with a little help from Mike McCann. So go check it out. Sportico Rolling Stone will take you right to it. Go ahead. Close it out, my friend.
He is Scott Soshnick. You can find him on Twitter at Soshnick.
You can find me walking to my meeting right now.
Find me on Twitter at Novi_Williams.
I was reading the comments about the show, by the way, on all the platforms.
Thank you very much
Everybody,
to Justin.
They like you more than me.
Yeah, shocker.
I get it. It's okay. But they like.
And then
I don't like the way they said
Matt
that. They said, I tell people that I'm smart. You show them that you're smart. I never said I'm
That's
smart.
my review, by the way.
I have never said I'm smart. That's BS.
Matt Palacio, Sebastian Milo.
You're definitely smarter.
You can follow the show.
I'm more entertaining, but you're smarter.
The hub of the Sportico Media Network, and that's why it works, Scott.
That's why it works. Okay. All right, I gotta go.